Jodie Foster chats life, love and movies this morning at 10:30.
The world is a darker place without her. Family and friends pay tribute to the murdered WPC, Sharon Beshanevsky. Good morning, you're watching the News Hour on GMTV.
It's 6 o'clock. It's Monday, the 21st of November, 2005.
As Bradford pays tribute to Police Constable Sharon Beshanevsky, the former Chief Constable of West Yorkshire, Keith Halliwell, whose daughter's a serving officer, tells us he doesn't want our police forces routinely armed. We want to know what you think. Email us at gm.tv or text us 81189.
Also this morning, GMTV has been given access for the first time ever to a school for victims of bullying. They're too traumatised to go to normal classes, and more on that in half an hour's time.
And has I'm a Celebrity already claimed its first victim? Actress Elaine Lorden is rushed out of the jungle to hospital after collapsing twice in 24 hours.
I know, it didn't look in a good way at all. Another cold one today, weather-wise. Claire with the big chill.
Hello, good morning. Well, it's going to get colder towards the end of the week, at least today, though. A lot of fog around. That's kept temperatures just sub-zero across many parts of the country. I think places escaping the cold temperatures this morning will be the far north of Scotland's northwest, as well as the far southwest of England. Elsewhere, though, you can see the freezing fog patches. It's going to cause problems on the roads through this morning and also into this afternoon, because they are likely to linger in one or two spots. Generally speaking, though, it's going to be a dry day, although a little bit of drizzle across the far northwest at first. And as you can see, lots of sunshine. Temperatures struggling today, only up to around 7 or 8 Celsius. By the end of the week, could only be up to 5 Celsius. More about that in around 25 minutes. Penny.
Thanks very much, Claire. The top story this morning, and the husband of the murdered Bradford policewoman has described the killers who shot his wife as cowards. Paul Beshanevsky said she was loved by everyone. Matt Arnold is at the scene of the murder. Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Penny. The floral tributes to 38-year-old PC Beshanevsky, the mother of 3 and stepmother to another 2 children, are being watched over silently here by 2 women officers from the West Yorkshire Force. There's a very sombre atmosphere in the city right across, and particularly here, just yards away from where the 2 women police officers were shot and Sharon Beshanevsky tragically killed in the armed raid on Friday.
Sharon's husband Paul looking at the place his police officer wife was shot and killed. It's a moving scene. The whole city's stunned by this weekend's shooting as 3 armed raiders robbed the travel agents in Morley Street, still under heavy police cordon as forensic teams search for vital clues. Flowers and tributes continue to arrive as armed police stand guard. At one point, Sharon's mother was escorted to the scene, flanked by police determined to catch her daughter's killers. In another emotional moment, Teresa Milburn posed for the press as she left Bradford Royal Infirmary, clearly still shocked by Friday's tragic shooting.
You do feel for them, they are family, and you just don't want to lose any of your family to murder. And it's just appalling, and you just think of that poor man having to tell his children that their mother's not coming home.
A police convoy brought suspects from London back to the north of England yesterday for questioning.
From being here in Bradford across the weekend, there's a very real sense that the police are playing this one exactly by the book. The convoy that you saw at the end of my report is believed to have contained 4 men and 1 woman. They were brought up the motorway from London yesterday, where they were arrested. 6 people in all were arrested. We believe at the moment there's 5 people being held in police stations across the West Yorkshire area, and 1 person, 1 man, still being held in London. There will be a police press conference hopefully later this morning, where we can flesh out some more details as just exactly how close the police are to nailing the killer of Sharon Beshanevsky.
All right, Matt, thank you very much indeed. The rest of the news now from Amanda.
Thank you, Andrew. Good morning. George Best's life still hangs in the balance this morning. Doctors say the footballing legend has so far made no significant improvement since being placed on a ventilator. Well, Richard Gaisford is outside London's Cromwell Hospital. Richard, good morning. What's the latest?
Well, he is unconscious on that life support machine that you mentioned in the intensive care unit here at the Cromwell Hospital. His condition's stable, which means he's not getting any worse, but most importantly, he's not getting any better. The medical team were hoping to see some sort of recovery. They say this period in time is absolutely critical to George Best, and perhaps rather ominously, they've said that this will all be decided naturally. Let's have a listen now to what the medical team have to say.
Well, he's getting, you know, a combination of drugs, and on top of that, he's getting all the support that a patient would get in an intensive care environment. He remains stable, but he's very critical.
Well, members of George Best's family are here by his bedside. Apparently they're using any sort of language they can, good and bad, to try and get some sort of reaction from him, try and keep him with them. It is not looking particularly positive at the moment, but we are expecting the professor, the medical team, to come out here a little later this morning and give us some updates.
Richard, many thanks for that. The Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon is leaving his Likud party to set up a new political group. The move follows the Labour Party's decision to pull out of Mr Sharon's coalition government. He's been unhappy with Likud because of its opposition to pull Israeli settlers out of the Gaza Strip. Today's developments will mean a general election. In Iraq, a British soldier has been killed and 4 others injured by a roadside bomb in Basra. This latest death means that 98 British soldiers have died in Iraq since the start of hostilities there in March 2003. For the first time ever, cameras have been allowed into Britain's only school for victims of bullying. GMTV has been given access to the Red Balloon Learning Centre in Cambridge, which helps children traumatised by bullying. The pioneering scheme helps children to rebuild their lives and gives them the confidence to return to mainstream education. On to showbiz news now, and pop singer Christina Aguilera has married her music executive boyfriend. The ceremony took place in California's Napa Valley with 130 guests, including the actress Sharon Stone. The star had been engaged to 28-year-old Jordan Bratman since February. Kylie Minogue has announced her comeback concert next year. She'll perform the homecoming leg of her Showgirl tour in Australia after cancelling the gig when she was diagnosed with breast cancer earlier this year. Promoters are hoping to announce the dates in the new year. Finally, it's something we've known all along. The problem isn't our body shape, it's the clothes that we wear. Apparently, the rag trade is still designing clothes for women with hourglass figures, but women's body shapes have changed dramatically. And apparently there are now 4 types. So which one are you? Apparently you are either a rectangle, inverted triangle, spoon, or good old-fashioned hourglass. Which one are you, miss?
What? Do you know, I'm just wondering, what's a spoon, for goodness sake? I mean, what a very strange shape. What is that? Sort of like an egg shape on a very small leg.
The reverse C or the traditional C?
I think we'll have to report back on this, won't we?
Yes.
We need more information.
Yeah. No, I've always said it's okay. I've managed to get in shape, luckily, because the shape I chose was a dodecahedron. Now, let's have a quick look at the papers.
Shall we do the papers?
Yes, let's have a look at the papers.
Best.
Actually, I found an item inside which I thought you might be interested in, actually, Andrew. Okay. Look, Times 2 section, Desperate Housekeeping, How to Run Your Home the 1950s Way. I thought you might be interested in that.
That's right, which is what I already do.
Yeah, of course you do.
Yes,
you do. You do, actually, yes, exactly. Go and do the cleaning. I'm just sitting here reading the newspaper. The Financial Times, few gains for Bush in China. The Times, Britain is ready to go nuclear. Blair courts controversy with power station plan. The Independent, this is part of a cluster bomb. It's feared thousands of bomblets lie unexploded in Iraq, capable of maiming or killing innocent civilians this week, more than 2 years after they were dropped. Britain is finally being held to account. The Daily Telegraph says that there's a move to scrap Tory-run councils, reforming local government in rural England. And finally, The Guardian saying the Lords are threatening a rough ride for the anti-terrorism bill.
Staying with the shooting in Bradford, most of the tabloids, the Daily Mail there, the 2 shooting victims. The Daily Mirror has the same story, the world's a darker place without her. That's Sharon Besanovsky's husband, Paul. Speaking of the people who murdered his wife. Cowards is the way he described them exactly. In the Sun this morning, under the Sun exclusive banner, they claim to have CCTV footage of Wayne Rooney with a brunette in a nightclub. And just a quick look at the back pages. Daily Record up in Scotland. Paul over for Eck. It says here, now Alex McLeish could be gone from Rangers. They reckon Paul Le Guen could be replacing him. He's the former Lyon boss. And of course, it was Celtic 3, Rangers 0 at the weekend. So the pressure certainly on him. And I wonder whether or not Celtic might be knocking on Roy Keane's door now. The Premiership star is a free man once again. He's 34 years of age. I wonder what he's worth. If the pack pages are anything to go by, it could be Celtic. It could be Juventus, rich club in Italy. Joining us now, the chief sports writer with the Daily Mirror, Oliver Holt. Hello, Oliver. Morning.
Hi, Andrew.
Roy Keane, how much is he worth at the age of 34? Brilliant player though he is.
Well, he is certainly in a lot of demand, Andrew. There are a lot of people who seem to think that he's still worth something. I think a lot of Premiership clubs have already offered him something. Everton and Middlesbrough are known to have be interested in him as a player coach. And this morning we've got stories, including in the Mirror, about a possible link here with Juventus. There's certainly been an approach from Juventus. It's in the early stages, but the thing that fires the imagination about that, obviously, is a reunion or a union with Patrick Vieira, who is his old rival.
Can you imagine trying to win the ball off either of them in midfield? That would be ferocious.
In their prime,
Right.
as you kind of hinted at there, in their prime, no. Now maybe both of them a little bit over the top. But Keane would be used sparingly. Maybe Serie A would suit him his age a bit better.
OK, what about Spurs versus West Ham yesterday? 2 games in the Premiership, weren't they? Actually, a very, very good game. Tottenham will be very upset this morning. Last-minute equaliser from
Yes, momentum going, but...
And the other big game was Middlesbrough-Fulham yesterday. This was an interesting clash of managers, isn't it? McLaren comes out on top against Coleman, 2 of the brightest...
Upset about that.
If he was offside, it was by 6 inches of foot. I mean, it was very hard to call.
Yeah, it was. But a good win for Middlesbrough. And as I say, you're right, they're mid-table, but they're going the right way.
And very sad, really, in the football world. Really, I think sadness would be the way most people would look at what's happening with George Best at the moment.
I think they would, although I think there's a slight generational thing there. I think people of my generation, although it is clearly extremely sad, have also grown up on a diet of seeing him in sort of controversial situations and situations that basically revolve around alcohol. And I think obviously an older generation remember him in his prime and in his pomp. But I think there are issues. It's difficult to talk about at the moment when he's on his deathbed, but there are issues surrounding the waste of a life. Really.
I know in Northern Ireland they still consider him a hero footballer.
Well, absolutely.
Just the second test, England-Pakistan, latest score, we got 389 for 6, Pakistan in their first innings, so a bit of a fight back from England there. So that's the very latest from Pakistan. Oliver, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
You're watching the news on GMTV. This morning's headlines. The husband of the murdered policewoman says it breaks his heart to think that she will not see their children grow up. 6 people have been arrested over the Bradford shooting.
As we've just been talking about, George Best is fighting for his life in hospital once again. His doctor says his family are giving George all the support they can, but are realistic about his condition.
And Kylie Minogue has begun to plan her comeback as she recovers from breast cancer. She'll resume her showgirl tour in Australia next year. Time is 30 minutes past 6. In the wake of the July the 7th terrorist attacks, there was a 6-fold increase in the number of religious hate crimes in London, mainly against Muslims. Islam is the second largest faith here. There are 2 million Muslims. So what's it like to be Muslim and British in 2005? Well, over the next 2 days, Apprentice star Saira Khan will be telling us, and we'll be talking to her and her husband in a moment. But first, here's her story.
Many people don't know the difference between the terms Muslim and Islam. Islam is the faith and Muslim refers to the people.
Muslims come from various backgrounds, including Turkish, African and British converts. My family are from Pakistan.
My parents moved to Nottingham in the 60s and we were the only Asian family in a predominantly white area.
I wasn't 5 there.
I'm
older than 5.
When my mum and dad first came here, they were working in factories. I couldn't speak English until I was 5. I like the strong family values my faith promotes. A great example of this is when the family get together to celebrate the end of Ramadan. My father died in 1998. Every year we have family gatherings to remember him. My husband Steve's British, and although my family had reservations, he's now my mum's favourite. My brothers and sisters all live and work here. We don't wear traditional clothing. We love the fact that we can be Muslim and British, embracing our culture and playing an active part in modern-day Britain at the same time.
And Sarah and her husband Steve are with me now. Hey, so you're the mum's favourite, eh?
Absolutely, I still am.
He is
still
now.
am.
So, Sarah, what does it mean to you being British and Muslim?
Well, I think it's a really interesting question, and I think a lot of Muslims are being asked that question now. But being British, for me, it's my nationality. I was born in this country. It's what football team I support. It's, you know, it's about the way that I've been educated in this country. And the Muslim side of me, it's my spirituality. It's a personal thing, and it's the way that I do things. It's where I get a lot of my values from. A lot of them based around my family, and gives me direction in life.
So you obviously see all this as an extremely good thing, but have you noticed that people's attitudes towards you have changed since the terrorist attack?
To be really honest with me, towards me, I have noticed no problems at all. I think there are members, small minority members of the Muslim community who are causing a lot of problems for the rest of us. And that's why I'm here today to sort of say there is a positive side. There are people like me, millions of people like me, who can live in this country, who feel it's their country and who've got a religion that helps them to be, you know, be good people.
And it is very, very few people who are not. Steve, how about you? I mean, how do you find it?
Well, I mean, we got married last year, so you know, I found it great. I mean, integrating into Syra's family, a super bunch of people, and they're just a really, really nice, great people. They've got really strong family values, and I come from a typical strong English family as well, so it's worked very well for the two of us. And,
so you got married a year ago. What was the ceremony like then? What did you do?
Well, we had a little sort of Muslim blessing sometime before. Then we had a massive kind of typical English wedding with fusing both Asian culture and British culture in. So we had a big bunch of my friends from university.
And we had massive like curry pots, you know. There was none of this kind of starter. We just like get the curry in, get the chapatis in, and the Essex lot loved it. You know, they really did. So it was good fun.
Don't mention Essex again.
and I know that you had a reputation, didn't you, in The Apprentice for being quite pushy. So does she wear the trousers at home, Steve? I mean, I'm sure you're not going to say that she does.
No, you rehearsed this. We rehearsed this response.
No. You have to be a pretty strong person to live and work with Syra, and she obviously has a very forceful personality, but I'm no pushover myself, so I don't let her get away with everything.
There you go.
Well, Syra and Steve, thank you very much. See you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Very well.
Yeah, what's it like to be from Essex and British? Right, I don't know if you saw Carol Thatcher last night. It just says in the mirror here, it says, "Eesh, Carol, what on earth did Thatcher do in the jungle?" Great entertainment.
Yes, well, we know about, yes, we did.
Toilet was obviously too far away.
Well, no, it was the cover of Darkness. Didn't have forgotten about the old night cameras.
Yes, we got her. We're off to the jungle next, which may already have claimed its first celebrity victim. This wasn't very nice. Actress Elaine Lorden has collapsed twice in the first 24 hours of the show. Jenny Faulkner is down under. Jenny, hi.
Good morning, Andrew. Good morning from the bush. And I'm a Celebrity is back, bigger and better than ever. And already ITV's most popular reality show has broken a record in the fact that the first celebrity's left already and it's only day one. What's going on? Find out after the break.
Well, it's in all the newspapers this morning, of course. Grief for murdered WPC Sharon, the world a darker place without a Daily Express. Just cowards is the word for the people who perpetrated this murder on Friday. WPC Sharon Beshinivsky in Bradford, gunned down by this armed gang. It's reopened the debate as to whether our police should be armed at all times. In a moment, talking with ex-Chief Constable of West Yorkshire, Keith Helliwell, whose daughter is a serving officer with Humberside Police Force. But first, Nick Dixon investigates the feeling amongst police officers.
Confirmed, 2 units required at north end of stadium.
Police on patrol at Sunday's Premiership football match between Tottenham and West Ham. On camera, officers wouldn't respond or react to the death of their colleague, but privately, several admitted that the death of WPC Sharon Beshinivsky had given them a harsh reminder of the dangers they face on the job. Today's work is about crowd control and keeping the fans in check, but the officers know all too well that that could change in a split second.
All units, armed robbery taking place in High Street. Officer needs assistance. Repeat, officer needs urgent assistance.
This latest shooting has reignited the debate over whether police officers, the majority of whom are unarmed, should carry weapons all the time. Gun crime has almost doubled in the last 5 years, though still 80% of officers oppose arming the police.
So still a high number against being armed. Let's talk to the former Chief Constable of West Yorkshire Police, Keith Helliwell. Keith, very good morning to you once again. Where do you stand on the arming or perhaps not arming issue?
I don't support the arming of the police as a universal factor. I don't think in this instance anyway it would have made any difference. The speed of action, it appears, the officers just got out of their cars and they were gunned down where they were. If they had sidearms, they wouldn't have had them drawn in such circumstances. And I think to arm the police fundamentally changes the way we deal with our police force in this country. We're one of the few countries in the world where the police police us by our consent. They don't need the force of arms to do it. And tragic as this incident is, I don't think we should react to one incident. We should think about this subject sort of long and hard.
But Keith, policing by consent, that sounds quite sort of old-fashioned, almost quaint. I mean, I understand there are 300,000 illegal arms on the street now and in circulation.
Yes, but arming the police to combat that is not the answer to the question. What we need to be doing, which I know we are doing, is dealing with gangs who bring these guns into the country to actually get behind the illegal arms trade and deal with that in that way. To arm the police is almost saying that it's inevitable that all these guns are going to come here and we need to arm the police to react to that. What we've got to do is to stop the guns coming and to continue with people saying that, you know, we're not going to have this in our society. We will give the police as much information as we can. And sometimes we don't get the information, or the police don't get the information that they deserve.
I mean, do you worry about your own daughter? I know she is a superintendent with the Humberside force, but I mean, do you worry, do people worry who are in the police force themselves about going to work in the morning? Is it a lot more dangerous than it used to be?
Yes, I think it is more dangerous than it used to be, but people get used to it. I remember when I was working in Northern Ireland with the Royal Ulster Constabulary, you just get used to it. These sort of tragic incidents are a reminder of how dangerous it can be. And of course, one of the problems nowadays is you never know when it's going to happen. I remember one of my officers was stabbed by a young woman just speaking to her on a summer's afternoon because this woman was drugged up. So the problem is, unlike a soldier, you don't know where the danger's coming from. This danger can strike, and it can be, as we've seen, lethal danger, can strike anywhere at any time. And that is what I worry about, and clearly that is what is at the back of the minds of some of the police officers today.
Keith, thanks for joining us once again this morning. We're going to talk to a well-known face now from Crime Watch, Detective Constable Jackie Hames. Good morning. Good morning. Policing by consent and therefore to remain unarmed, our police officers. Is that the view in the force?
Certainly my view, and I think that reflects a lot of my colleagues as well. Certainly I wouldn't want to be walking in the streets of London carrying a gun.
What about the death penalty? It was called for by Lord Stevens, 5 years head of the Metropolitan Police Service. I mean, very senior man. Quite an emotional reaction from him to this.
Yes, and we're all people at the end of the day. We've got children, we've got, you know, family members, and when I heard of what happened to Karen and Sharon, you know, the first reaction is, my God, we should be doing something so much more serious about that. We should be deterring by having the death penalty, but you do have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. I'm not a believer in the death penalty across the board, and in my heart of hearts, that's not what I want to see brought into this country.
When you go on a call-out like these two young WPCs were, and they were young, they were inexperienced as well, what goes through a police person's mind, a policeman or policewoman's mind, when they're called out to an incident like this?
Well, I think, as Keith Halliwell said, you have to keep an open mind to a large degree when you're patrolling in that way. Every call is different. You know, it may be given the same title. You may be called to a disturbance, you may be called to voices being raised, and you do have to keep an open mind. Unfortunately, this day and age, we have had a large influx of young officers coming in, and you can train people, but what you can't train them for is give them is that streetwise experience of being able to assess things very quickly, react very quickly. Looking from what I can tell from the papers, I don't have any personal knowledge, but this was an incident that, you know, happens several times every single day. An attack alarm goes off in a shop. You go along and you deal with it the best way you can based on your training and that experience.
But they could have done nothing different by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Of course, it only happened on Friday and it's been fully investigated. Jackie, thanks ever so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
The time is 6:26. You're watching the news here on GMTV. We're off to Rumble in the Jungle. Yes, we're just hours in and already there's been high drama in the new series of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Front page news, in fact, because former EastEnders star Elaine Lorden was rushed to hospital after collapsing twice on the first day. Well, our woman in the jungle, Jenny Faulkner, is over there for us. So what exactly happened to Elaine?
Good morning, Penny. Good morning from New South Wales and from the bush. The scene of Elaine's kind of drastic and dramatic kind of start to the show. Basically, we saw her enter the jungle. She was very weak from the start. She was very shaky. She tried to cross that high wire bridge and she was really physically unfit. She was really shaking there. In fact, our crew that are with us now were the crew filming that, and they said what you didn't see is when she got to the other side eventually, she did in fact vomit, and they said she was in a really bad state. They in fact said they're surprised that she's lasted day one, and they didn't think she'd last much longer. I don't think they realised she wasn't actually going to last much longer, because she fainted pretty soon on arrival, and then when she fainted for the second time, ITV took no risk. The medics came in, escorted her out to the ambulance and then to the local hospital where she's been ever since.
So what's the latest on her condition then? How is she?
OK, well, a day on, she's still in hospital. She's undergoing further tests, and although she's desperate to return to the jungle, ITV want to make it very clear she will only return when and if doctors say she's fit enough. So they really are being governed by the doctor's orders.
Right, what's in store for the contestants this year then? Because each year they say this is going to be more and more unpleasant.
Exactly. Well, it's the same place, Mo Woollumba in New South Wales, same camp. However, for the first time ever, they let people like me go in advance. There were a select group of about 8 of us that went in for an afternoon and an evening last week. And for my luxury item, I took a DV camera. Always thinking of my job, you see. So you'll be able to see some of that footage. Now, just so you know, Penny, the actual camp is a little bit smaller than the GMTV studio. So as you know, it always looks bigger on screen than it actually does. So imagine 10 people eating, sleeping, drinking, breathing, fighting, squabbling in that one area. Not good. Also, when the fire's lit, there's even less space. At any one stage, I could see about 10 cameras on you, so you're never out of camera view, and that's only the cameras that I could see. Now, there's also a canopy, so you can be kind of dry or you can sunbathe, depending on how quick you are to protect yourself from the rain, and wind that canopy down. And also the bush dunnies, a little walk away. I actually needed the toilet, but was too scared to go. It's very dark down there. It's not a very tasteful bucket. No, thank you, not for me. And then round the corner is the Bush Telegraph. There is one added feature this year, though. If you go into the Bush Telegraph, any naughty contestant might be called in there, and much like the diary room in Big Brother, they might never return, because there is a hidden door. And if you open that hidden door, there's a staircase. And if you go up that staircase, there's the I'm a Celebrity prison. So you never know who's going to end up in there this year.
Thank you very much, Jenny. I didn't realise it was smaller than the GMTV studio.
No, most people
tiny.
think this is quite
it's
big, but it's not.
It isn't. Not in reality, it isn't. It's the televisions, and that's why we also look so much bigger than we actually are.
That's right. Carol Thatcher is doing the first bush tucker trial today, isn't she? Going across the canopy in a car or something like that. Had to be her first. Yeah. It just had to be.
Now, you can keep up to date with all the goings-on in the jungle. Log on to gm.tv, and look, there's David Dickinson.
Captain Dickinson.
Yeah, exactly. 64 is a fine-looking figure of a man, isn't he? For
yeah,
is he 64? I think
likes to be the leader. You've probably given him another 10 years there. Anyway. Right, still to come. On camera for the first time, GMTV is given access to Britain's only school for children victimised by bullies, so we'll talk about that in a moment.
And what now for Nicholas after his exit from the X Factor? He's here in 20 minutes' time.
The weather from Claire, next.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Tops Tiles. Brightening homes, whatever the weather.
Hello, good morning. It's going to be a very cold week across the country. A deep frost last night, as you can see here. That means sub-zero temperatures, some icy stretches on untreated roads. Not only frost, but also we are seeing some fog patches this morning as well. They are going to linger. The Met Office has issued warnings, particularly for East Anglia, up towards Lincolnshire and Yorkshire, and also for the Scottish borders. There's a lot of dense fog here. It could deposit some ice on untreated roads. More clouds across the far northwest of Scotland, and down in the southwest. That's where we're free of frost this morning. But through the day, the fog should gradually lift. One or two spots, you could find it lingers, and that means through the afternoon, most of us seeing some good spells of sunshine. Enjoy the sunshine, because things are going to change this week, very slowly indeed from the north. We'll still see that cloud across the far northwest, but elsewhere it should be bright with some sunshine. But those fog patches, where they do linger, temperatures may not rise above freezing like yesterday. So temperatures, if you do see some sunshine, 7 or 8 Celsius, down towards the southwest, 9, up towards the northwest where you'll see more breeze and more cloud, 11 Celsius, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. It's turning colder over the next few days. In fact, as the wind sets in from a northerly direction, dragging in some very cold air indeed, values by day could only reach around 5 degrees Celsius. We're talking Friday here, but through the week we will see more clouds. Temperatures could lift just for a time before gradually descending into the depths of freezing air. Let's have a look and see what's happening on Tuesday then. With a similar scenario to today, as you can see here, some bright spells. Again, fog could linger across 1 or 2 spots. More in the way of clouds across the far northwest. As we head into Wednesday, you can see this cloud gradually sinking its way southwards. You could actually see some rain with it as well. So by Wednesday, you could see, particularly for northern counties of England, more in the way of clouds, hanging on to some sunshine there across the south. But then by Thursday, we'll see that damp weather in the south, and then cold air coming in from the north, and also some wintry showers. So by Friday, the winter really sets in indeed. Cold wind, gale force winds, and also some wintry showers. Temperatures really struggling. Here's your summary. For your in-depth local outlook, visit our website, or for a 10-day forecast, call GMTV's Weatherline on 0905 514 0000.
Good morning, it's 6:32, Monday the 21st of November.
You're watching the news out here on GMTV. In the next half an hour, inside Britain's only school for the victims of bullying. GMTV has been given access to see how it helps pupils too traumatised to go to normal classes.
And what now for the X Factor reject Nicholas? He was booted out, but as usual, the spat between the judges almost overshadowed his exit.
So there were, that was on Saturday. First, this morning, the husband of the murdered Bradford policewoman has described as cowards the gunman who killed his wife, Sharon. Paul Beshanivsky said the world would be a darker place without her. Well, Matt Arnold is at the scene of the murder up in Bradford. Matt, morning.
Good morning, Andrew. The floral tributes to PC Beshanivsky, the 38-year-old mother of 3 and stepmother to another 2 children, are being watched over silently by officers from the West Yorkshire Force. There's a very sombre atmosphere right across the city in Bradford, and particularly here, just yards from the scene where the 2 brave officers were shot and Sharon Beshanivsky tragically killed in the armed raid on Friday.
Sharon's husband Paul looking at the place his police officer wife was shot and killed. It's a moving scene. The whole city's stunned by this weekend's shooting as 3 armed raiders robbed the travel agents in Morley Street, still under heavy police cordon as forensic teams search for vital clues. Flowers and tributes continue to arrive as armed police stand guard. At one point, Sharon's mother was escorted to the scene, flanked by police determined to catch her daughter's killers. In another emotional moment, Teresa Milburn posed for the press as she left Bradford Royal Infirmary, clearly still shocked by Friday's tragic shooting.
You do feel for them, they are family, and you just don't want to lose any of your family to murder. And it's just appalling, and you just think of that poor man having to tell his children that their mother's not coming home.
A police convoy brought suspects from London back to the north of England yesterday for questioning.
4 men and 1 woman are being held in police stations across the north of the region here. 1 man is still being held by the police in London. We're hoping for a press conference later this morning to find out how near police are to laying any charges against the killer of Sharon Beshanivsky, who died on Friday, the very day her 4-year-old daughter was celebrating her birthday.
Matt, thank you very much.
The rest of the news this morning from Amanda.
Andrew, thank you. Good morning. George Best's life still hangs in the balance this morning. Doctors say the former footballing legend has so far made no significant improvement since being placed on a ventilator. Richard Gaisford is outside London's Cromwell Hospital. Richard, good morning. Any word on how he is?
Nothing this morning yet, Amanda. We are expecting a statement a little later on today. George Best still unconscious in intensive care on that life support machine. Condition, we're told, is stable, which means he's not getting any worse, but more importantly perhaps, he's not getting any better. The medical team looking after George had hoped to see some signs of recovery. They haven't seen that yet. They say the period we're in right now is critical to his recovery, and perhaps rather ominously they say that this will all be settled naturally. So we wait to see. He does have the best care that money can buy, and we'll hear now from one of the medical team looking after him.
Well, he's getting, you know, a combination of drugs, and on top of that, he's getting all the support that a patient would get in an intensive care environment. He remains stable, but he's very critical.
Richard, many thanks for that update. In Iraq, a British soldier has been killed and 4 others injured by a roadside bomb in Basra. The latest death means that 98 British soldiers have died in Iraq since the start of hostilities there in March 2003. The Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon is leaving his Likud party to set up a new political group. It follows the Labour Party's decision to pull out of Mr Sharon's coalition government. He's been unhappy with Likud because it's opposed to removing Israeli settlers from the Gaza Strip. In the last few minutes, Mr Sharon is to arrive at the President's house, where it's thought he'll ask for a snap general election. British holidaymakers say they're being ripped off by tour operators when they go overseas. More than 75% of those surveyed feel they miss out on better deals and interesting tours because they don't speak the local language. On to showbiz news now, and pop singer Christina Aguilera has married her music executive boyfriend. The ceremony took place in California's Napa Valley with 130 guests, including the actress Sharon Stone. The star had been engaged to 28-year-old Jordan Bratman since February. Kylie Minogue has announced her comeback concert. She'll perform the homecoming leg of her Showgirl tour in Australia after cancelling the gig when she was diagnosed with breast cancer last May. Promoters are hoping to announce the dates in the new year. Finally, it's something we've all known all along. The problem isn't our body shape, it's the clothes that we wear. Apparently, the rag trade is still designing clothes for women with hourglass figures, but women's body shapes are changing dramatically, and apparently there are now 4 different types. So which one are you? You can be either a rectangle, inverted triangle, spoon, or good old-fashioned hourglass, which is quite a thought. It is 6:38. Our next news update is at 7. Here's Penny and Andrew.
Although there's no point in being an hourglass because oh no, that's right. No, they were doing it for hourglass, but we're not an hourglass anymore. So
and neither you nor I are commenting any further on that, are we?
No, we're not going to
do whatever you want as long as you wear a padlock with it.
No, really. Missy likes my little watch. Now, Nicholas from the X Factor is here in 15 minutes, but first, you could be £10,000 richer by the end of the programme.
With the details, he's back. Keith Chegwin.
We've got a whopping £10,000 to give away, courtesy of Direct Holidays. You can spend it on whatever you like. For your chance to win, here's the question you need to answer.
Who played Maria in the film version of The Sound of Music? A. Julie Walters, B. Julie Andrews, or C. Julia Roberts?
You can dial 09068 100 100. That's 09068 100 100. Or you can text A, B or C as your answer, plus your name and full address to 81149. Or you can enter via the website.
And the competition winner will be announced at the end of Lorraine's show, or before the end of Lorraine's show.
More from us in a moment, but first here's what's happening where you are.
Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News from ITV Granada. First this morning, doctors treating George Best say today will prove critical to his survival. A harrowing picture of the former Manchester United legend was released to a newspaper to warn about the dangers of alcohol abuse. He remains on a life support machine at the Cromwell Hospital in London after developing a serious lung infection. His doctor says his lack of progress is causing grave concern.
The next 24 hours is very critical for Mr. Best as to whether he is going to survive this infection and all the consequences of it on his body.
An investigation's underway this morning after a gas explosion at a house in Greater Manchester. It happened on Memorial Road in Walkden late last night. One man was found with burns to his head, arms and abdomen. Surrounding residents have been moved to a nearby community centre as building inspectors deemed the property unsafe. The second week of the trial of a Liverpool teenager accused of murdering Anthony Walker starts this morning. The A-level student was attacked with an axe whilst walking his girlfriend to a bus stop in July. 17-year-old Michael Barton denies murder. Last week, 20-year-old Paul Taylor admitted murdering the teenager near to his home in Huyton. Liverpool Crown Court's expected to hear forensic evidence today. Police in Greater Manchester are to release more details about a woman who is in a critical condition after being attacked. The 22-year-old was discovered last Saturday on Rochdale Road, close to the junction with Mitchell Street in Oldham. She was taken to hospital and has not yet regained consciousness. Police will hold a news conference later today. Finally, some good news for ITV Granada as we scooped a prize at the Royal Television Society Awards. Our reporter Jane Dougal was named Television Journalist of the Year at Saturday night's star-studded event. The awards were presented at the Midland Hotel in Manchester.
Thank you to the people who don't get a big mention all the time, but who are actually very important in this job, and that's the cameramen. The person that shot my piece was Paul Watts. It was a very long day, and he did an excellent job, so thank you to the cameramen.
Well, that's it for now. I'll be back at 7:05. Time now for a look at the region's weather.
Take a deep breath and shout down the weather.
Bring it on! It'll be another bright and frosty start, but watch out for a few dense fog patches around. This afternoon will stay dry and sunny with the odd fog patch lingering on. Highs today of a cold 7 Celsius, that's 45 Fahrenheit.
Here on GMTV, Monday morning, 6:42 is the time. Now, for the first time ever, GMTV cameras have been given access to the country's only school for victims of bullying. Sue Jameson is at the Red Balloon Learning Centre in Cambridge. Sue, good morning. How does this operate?
Yes, good morning, Andrew. Well, I can tell you there are 12 children in the country who are not at all worried about being bullied today, and that's because they come here to this centre, which helps children so badly traumatised by bullying that they can't go back into mainstream school. So they get one-to-one teaching. They also get counselling. Chelsea's come in really early. She's doing her history homework here. This is Will's timetable that not only has his own work in here, but also therapy on either side, and they've also got an anti-bullying workshop today. Now, every 7 seconds a child is bullied in Britain. Not all of them can come here, of course, but the government is going to be announcing new plans to tackle the bullying, saying it won't be tolerated, and to say that the bullies themselves could be punished and even their parents made accountable. But what makes this place so special? We've been talking to some of the children, including Chelsea, to find out.
Okay, come on, let's just try and get this bit finished. Here we provide a full curriculum plus at least 30% personal and social education, where kids relearn how to speak, how to talk, how to form relationships, how to laugh, how to sing, how to have a good time being a student. Our children constantly say when they came here they were a mask, they were something other than what they were. And after they've been here, and it takes 3 or 4 months, they can put down the mask and actually find out who they are again.
It was at 3 primary schools and 2 secondary schools as well, and I got bullied at all of them.
I was getting bullied so much at my school that I thought I have to do something about this.
I've been regularly beaten, tormented, got stabbed in the hand with pencils, stuff like that.
Being here, I can be me and feel safe to be me, and I can go out now. I can do a lot of stuff that before I couldn't do.
I think I feel much more confident here than from my old school because my work was starting to get better, and I do feel much more confident, yeah.
Oh, I think it really boosts my confidence. It's just brilliant to be here, I suppose.
Well, Dr. Herbert doing great work in Cambridge. Sue, thanks for telling us about that. Watching that with me here is Chris Cloak, the chairman of the Anti-Bullying Alliance. It's a network, a national network of over 60 organisations who are fighting bullying. Morning to you.
Morning.
It was very expensive, great work, but Dr. Herbert and her colleagues wouldn't come cheaply and knew with the facility.
That's absolutely right. We certainly know that bullying can have devastating consequences for children. It can ruin children's life. It's a real scourge on society. And this week is Anti-Bullying Week, and we really want to highlight this problem and really encourage children to take action, to encourage children to really press in their schools to find out what's going on in terms of tackling bullying. Has the school got an anti-bullying policy? Are children being involved? The theme of Anti-Bullying Week is involving children and young people, and we very firmly believe that children and young people have got a lot of the answers to how we tackle bullying.
Has there been a rise in bullying, or is it just that we're recognising it more and identifying it more? Because it seems every single day, you know, there is something in the paper, some tragedy waiting to happen around bullying.
Yes, I think that's right. Certainly cases do hit the headlines, and I think what is good is that there is much more awareness of bullying. It's very difficult to say whether there's more bullying or not, but there's much greater awareness, and certainly, you know, programmes such as you're doing on GMTV make a real difference. So awareness raising is very important, because that means more people are getting help.
And what about these potential, what, £1,000 fines to parents if their children attack others in school? Because attack and assault, words like that, should be used more often. But do you think this sort of fines, heard it all before?
Yes. I think we really need a kind of total policy or a total approach, if you like, to bullying. We need to stop it happening in the first place, and therefore I think schools have a key role in terms of teaching how we should look after each other, how we should respect each other, and so schools can follow that through the curriculum, but they also need to have good support to children in school, so it's easy for children to tell if they're being bullied.
We put so much onus on the schools, don't we? But surely it starts with the parents.
I think it's a bit of both, actually. I think it's the society as a whole, and certainly, you know, we need to look at how we as adults treat each other, and certainly, you know, that provides a role. And so schools have an important role in countering that. And I think, you know, so certainly schools have a vital role to play, and they need to ensure that support systems are in place. And that would include, for example, peer support schemes, which can be really helpful in terms of young people supporting other young people.
Yes, there are children who are going to go to school this week and who are probably watching right now who may be nervous, and there's plenty of information on our website, gm.tv. Details on how you can beat the bullies and details on helplines. Plenty of information for parents as well. Chris, thank you very much indeed.
Time is 13 minutes to 7. You're watching the news hour on GMTV. This morning's headlines. The husband of the murdered policewoman says it breaks his heart to think she will not see their children grow up. 6 people have been arrested over the Bradford shooting.
George Best is fighting for his life in hospital still. His doctor says his family are giving George all the support they can, but are realistic about his condition.
And Kylie Minogue has begun to plan her comeback as she recovers from breast cancer. She'll resume her showgirl tour in Australia next year. Now, ever wondered where you left your keys? Or forgotten your PIN number? A report says we're all becoming a bit more forgetful. We're missing birthdays, meetings, we're losing our most precious possessions. And in a moment, I hope to be talking to psychologist Professor Kerry Cooper to find out what's behind our amnesia. But first, here's Lucy McDonald.
Now, what was I supposed to be doing? Forgetfulness. As a nation, we're becoming far more absent-minded, regularly missing birthdays and meetings and losing vital possessions, if not our minds. 1 in 2 of us has lost their keys this year. 2 out of 3 people have locked themselves out. Half of us have mislaid a bag or a wallet, or forgotten a PIN number or computer password. Women's Achilles heel is directions, whilst for men, it's names. Experts say it's because our lives are so hectic and we suffer from information overload, meaning we forget the simplest of things. This is Lucy McDonald for GMTV.
Now, obviously, Lucy was joking there, but I actually forgot one of my oldest friend's names, actually, whilst trying to introduce her at a party. And I said, Simon, this is my oldest friend here. Actually, not old in age, of course, but I just said, she's my oldest friend.
That's a bad
I
moment.
actually couldn't remember her name. I've just been on holiday with her as well. What is her name again?
It's the most embarrassing thing, isn't it? You want them to leap in and say, oh, Bill, or whatever it is, but sometimes they don't.
Kirsty actually didn't believe that I really had forgotten her name. It was just a momentary lapse of concentration. Anyway, we're hoping that Professor Kerry Cooper from Lancaster University has checked into our Manchester studio. We think that somebody may have forgotten to book the satellite. Let's just see if we can... Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank goodness for that. We've got everything sorted out. We were a bit worried about that for a moment. Now,
somebody here must have forgot something.
Bound to have done. Now, apparently we're being so forgetful because we're all stressed. Our busy lives are all to blame.
I think so. I mean, we lead kind of frenetic lives. I mean, unlike the people at GMTV who are very normal, have a very relaxed life, the rest of us out here, of course, lead very frenetic lives. We work long hours, we're rushing around. 2 out of every 3 families are working families. We're under more stress than ever before, and we'll just forget birthdays, we'll forget our keys, our wallets, all of that. I mean, that's just part and parcel of leading this kind of existence.
So presumably then, because women have to do so much more, what with juggling work and home, they are presumably more forgetful.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if you take a look at this survey, women are more forgetful because of all the juggling. On the other hand, what women don't forget is relationships and people. When they meet them, they remember their name, whereas men don't do that. Men remember directions when they get in cars, but they don't remember people's name when they first meet them. Relationships seem to be less important to them. So I think there's a difference in gender between men and women in forgetfulness.
And it's weird, isn't it? We rarely ever forget the bad things.
Oh, no. We always remember the crisis things, the bad things. It's the kind of, I think, little things in life when you're leading a frenetic life, you know, leaving your keys somewhere, forgetting the time of a meeting, birthdays. I mean, I have real trouble, but I know my daughter's birthday's in February, but I'm not quite sure of the date. So I wish her happy birthday 2 weeks before her birthday. It's that kind of thing from the kind of, based on the lifestyle we lead primarily.
Yeah, I know. My sister once left one of her children on the bus. It's okay, she found her.
If only.
Any top tips to help us remember things, especially in the run-up to Christmas when we are all so very busy?
Yeah, well, we have to make lists and we have to plan. I think the most important thing not to forget is people and people's names. And one of the things you should do there is when you first meet somebody, repeat their name after you meet them. Women tend to do that, but men don't.
Thank you very much, Professor Kerry Cooper. Andrew.
Penny.
So they always sound ridiculous the more you say them, names,
It is a
don't
bit. OK, I think that Sharon Osbourne forgot herself just a little bit on Saturday night. She had a right go at Louis Walsh once again. Here's the moment she decided to give Louis a piece of her mind.
The name of the act I'm sending home tonight is Nicholas.
Yeah, that was just too bad, because I'm afraid Nicholas was on the receiving end of that particular vote, and he's with me now. Don't look forlorn now. Come on. It's going to be an OK week. It's going to be all right. You don't have to go in there and deal with any of that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you feeling?
I'm all right, man. I'm doing very well.
Yeah? Are you going to be all right? I mean, was it bad news on Saturday night? What did you do after you went out?
I was OK. I took the news rather well. At the end of the day, I feel I was starting to lose my confidence a bit in the competition, so maybe it's the best thing for me to be out of it. It would have been nice
if you could have taken a week off and then gone back in again.
Yeah, because I really was starting to lose a bit of faith and that in the competition.
Yeah, certainly. Do you still think that you've got a big future ahead in the music business? Because you're only, you're 17 years old?
18.
18 now.
Yeah.
When was your birthday?
May.
OK.
The end of May.
It's been a long competition, hasn't it?
Yeah, very long competition.
Are you glad you've been in it?
I'm very glad I've been in it. I don't know if I could do it again, but I'm very glad I was in it.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens now with the career, because in our house, we think you're absolutely marvellous.
Oh, thanks, man.
No, the girls just go absolutely nuts for you. You know, when you went back home, when you were selected, I think it was to go into the boot camp, you had to go home and say, I'm in.
Yeah.
Oh, it was wonderful.
That was one of the best moments.
Yeah.
That's up there with one of the best.
How was Mum and Dad? They loved that?
Yeah.
How were they when you were out?
There was upset, obviously, but they're just very proud of how far I've come and where I got to, and they know that I'm so young and that they're hopefully thinking there's good stuff ahead for me in the future. So,
yeah. So you've learned a great deal. You still think there's a future left in there, and you know what do you reckon now? Will you watch X Factor? Will you go back in and watch up at the studios?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be there on Saturday night to watch it, and it would be good to be able to just watch it from an outside view and not be stressing like, oh, I'm on next and stuff. So it'd be good to just sit down and watch it, and I've come so close with the rest of the contestants, so I will definitely be watching.
Is Shane the favourite to win, in your opinion?
I don't know. They're all so talented. I don't know who's the favourite to win. I think it's anyone's game.
Tell me Chico's not going to win it.
I don't.
He's
Chico,
amazing.
Yeah, Chico is talented in his own way, and he knows his market, and he's giving them what they want.
See, if you'd have sung Chico Time, everything would have been okay. Absolutely incredible performance from Chico. They're talking about that possibly being the Christmas #1 now. Well, we'll see what Sir Cliff has to say about that, and a few other bands as well. Great entertainment, Nicholas. Thank you. I'm sorry that you went out the other night. All the best. I know you're sticking around here.
Thank you. Being forgetful. Sorry that our director actually forgot to show you the clip where Sharon actually threw water at Louis Walsh. That was just being forgetful. Too many things to do. Fiona and Ben here next with GMTV Today. More gossip from Jenny in the Jungle.
And wrap up well. It's cold out there. Claire's got the weather in a moment.
One's